But first, we're going to talk about many, many years ago. I was a pretty sick kid. Don't know if you could tell, but I had a lot of trouble with asthma growing up. And, I spent my first few Christmases in the hospital, and I knew all about ventilators and puffers and all kinds of crazy things. I had really bad allergies. I'd have asthma attacks at school, and the teachers would be hyperventilating worse than I was because they'd be freaking out. And I'm like, it's okay. And just talk them through the process of how to use my puffers and stuff like that. I got kind of used to it. And it sucked because I got left out of stuff, and I wasn't really allowed to do things growing up until I started getting around maybe 9 years old. I started getting more into running, which was, kind of weird because sick kid can't breathe all of a sudden starts getting more into running. I mean, we were always running around playing as kids, but there would be that point where it's like, oh no, am I going to have a heart attack or whatever? And so I started trying out for track and field and finding that I was kind of good at it. And I was a fast kid. And I figured, well, if I'm only running for a little bit, then I can avoid trouble. And this won't be so bad. But then, as time went on, they started kind of putting me in distance running and cross country. And I started getting better at that. And my dad took notice because he had the same thing, bad asthma, and he was very into the cross country team and everything. So he got excited because, dads, they're looking for absolutely any way that they can try and steer their sons. Oh, you like this, or you did this, I did this. I'm going to tell you all about how to do it. It's genetics. So he got really excited, and he kind of pushed me more into it, and it turns out I was good at it. And I started getting better, and I started placing. When I went to Sacred Heart, back home in Sarnia, we had a killer cross-country team. One of the best in the province. And it was really awesome to be a part of something that, just elevated my abilities as, an athlete. I didn't think I'd be able to do any of that. And so that was really cool. And I met a lot of really great people. But there were a few things that when I think back, and even at the time, I was kind of thinking about how distance running would really relate to music. There's a few things that I can think back on, going through these races and everything, and it just... It really took me from a place where I didn't think I could do it, and then I could do it, and then I got better, and then it improved my breathing, and then even beyond that, I started taking home ribbons and placing and being on a winning cross-country and track team. It was a lot of fun, so I think of one race in particular. I was doing the 1500, and so that's a few laps around the track, and you go and you run, and it's distance running, but it's in terms of distance running, it's almost a sprint. But there was just a few kids ahead of me, and you just start picking them off. And you set a pace, and okay, I'm going after this guy, and you mark them, and you catch up, and you go for the next one, and you catch up. And it was always about having that next goal. So if you have something that you're heading towards and you focus only on getting there, and then you worry about the next stuff afterwards, obviously you want to finish, but each person is just the destination, and you're pushing against that, and you're racing against that. So that was one big thing, was always be thinking about that next mark. Because if you don't have one and you reach where you want to be, then you can get lost really easily. Or you mess up, or you don't think about long term. What's the next step? You're just kind of plodding along with no real plan, and you're not going to beat anybody. So that was one thing. The second thing was that I found I was getting better with my short distance racing the more work I was putting into long distance. And when you were really thinking about it, like, you had to think about how you were taking your steps in your stride. You were thinking about how to control your breathing. You were thinking about, getting control of your body in a way that when you were sprinting, when you're a kid, you're just like, go fast. But as you start to spend more time with it, and we had really good coaches, in elementary school and in high school, and you start talking about how the body moves in slow motion. And they were very insistent that everybody do distance running. And it made me faster, because to go fast, you have to start slow. So in music, we talk about that idea where, like, you want to be playing blistering fast. You want to play at 300 BPM, you start at 40 BPM. You set the metronome as slow as you can. And you master the space in between. When you start to be able to feel, just like when you're running, you know the movement of your body, and you can figure out your stride. How long apart your strides are going to be, how far you can get in one go, You start working out that motion. It's the same with playing piano, it's the same with playing scales on a guitar. If you want to go fast, you have to start slow. And really take in all the technical stuff that goes with that at a slow pace. So the next big one, obviously, is thinking about, controlling your breathing and staying calm. Because as you get out, they say 800 meters is like distance, 1,500 meters is distance, but then you get into cross-country races where you're, in elementary school, you're doing 3K, 5K. And in high school, you're doing like 8, 10K races. That's a lot of stress to be putting your body under over a prolonged period of time. So the biggest thing is controlling your breathing, staying calm in the situation where, like, it's fucked. You're not supposed to be putting yourself through such rigor. Your body isn't used to it, generally. And it wants to just kind of give up and collapse and be at rest. So by controlling your breathing, you're controlling the pulse and the rhythm of your body. You're keeping yourself calm, and you're regulating your heartbeat, which allows you to push yourself further. So in a mind over matter, where you're just like setting up a system to be regular, and you're controlling your thoughts, which are helping to control your body, which is pushing you well beyond what you thought was possible. So when there's things happening in music, and you're feeling like, oh my god, this is crazy, this is nuts, I'm in a musical situation where I'm feeling maybe a little uncomfortable, that is the thought that's going to make you trip up. That's the thought that's going to make you stop playing. You need to be able to assert that control over your energy and take the situation as it comes. Freaking out stopping playing if something trips you up, that is the stumble. That is how you let people know that something is wrong. And even bigger, you're letting your whole body know that something is wrong. So you're not going to be able to keep control over your faculties, be able to play as fluidly as you normally would be, or access all the parts of your brain that you normally would while you're playing. I mean, there were races that we would have to do in Lorne Henderson Conservation Area. And oh my lord, these races were tough. Like, running downhill, there's mud, people are wiping out, and there's trails going through, like, swampland and everything. And you were lucky to get to the other side and finish completely, clean. People would fall. It was encouraged. These were tough races. People would get hurt. And you knew this coming in, but you had to be able to control that fear, control your heart rate. And to be able to do that allows you the next point, which is the idea of consistency in your stride. So controlling the breathing, all of that allows you to be physically consistent. You set a pace, and you're going. And you're controlling your breathing, and you set that pace. And it's the consistent beat, the locking into of a rhythm that allows you to, finish the race. Make these feats happen. Manage to pull yourself through a forest and sand pits and muddy swamp. Get on the other side. Staying 1 foot in front of the other and just keep doing that. Because 10K is a huge distance. That's a lot of ground to cover. But it starts with one step. And that one step becomes 100 steps. And that, once you reach that milestone, the next 100 or whatever aren't as many, right? Because you've been there, you've done that. When you get to that last kilometer and you're like, okay, one more. This is crazy. My legs are screaming, but I've already done 9 of these. We can do the last 10, or the last one to make it 10. So this comes in a lot of different ways. This is consistency with practice. If there's something that you can't get good at, you're like, oh man, I just want to be able to put this cool idea into my playing. I want to be able to write with this new technique that I'm learning, but it just isn't working. It's not feeling natural. Well, consistently spending time with it. Having that regular approach to doing it and doing it and doing it, and it gets easier. You don't think you're going to be able to do, groups of 7 in the Lydian augmented mode and, at 160 BPM. But you spend time with it, it's a little more familiar each time, and it's a little less daunting each time. And then beyond that, obviously, locking into rhythm. That's like the single most important thing that you can do while playing music. I mean, in a live situation, playing with other people, that is the one thing that's keeping the group anchored. Being able to play the same song. If you're not locked into the rhythm, you can be playing a lot of wrong notes, but if you're playing them in time, they might just think like, man, he's really advanced. He's doing some shit like, I don't know what that is, but when you lock into a rhythm with your stride and your breathing, then that groove helps to keep pushing you forward. If you've already been going, it's almost harder to stop once you get going. So you can breeze through 5 kilometers. Be like, okay, I got a little more gas in the tank. It's time to kick it up a notch. Start picking people off. So being able to establish yourself into that groove, the feet hitting against the sidewalk, and you're breathing, moving in rhythm with that. Like I feel like a lot of solidifying of my time as a musician happened while I was running. And I would think of a song and I would run to that song and try and keep a steady rhythm. It was a lot of fun. I didn't think that I'd ever be able to do it, and I got really good at it. I mean, there was a race where I blew past somebody coming around a corner so fast that they fell out of bounds. They got disqualified. So it sucks for them. They probably think about that a lot. I think about it as how awesome I am. Because I'm a terrible person. But the ideas behind how to run, move your body, get far, and do it well. You think about the mechanics, you start slow and move your way up. You have to be able to control your mind and stay calm. You have to be consistent. And when you get into a rhythm and you lock in, it takes you further, and it's almost harder to stop. That groove is good. Nobody really wants that jam to end. Except maybe some of the people listening who are like, oh my god, play something else. But just a little bit of ideas, musings, if you will, about the similarities between running and running that damn groove across my mind all day, son. If you want to learn more about any of the topics discussed on today's episode, or if you'd like to expand your horizons so you can make the most amount of impact with your music, please be sure to check us out at mfile.ca.